Well, here's my two little Chinese motorcycles. The first one I bought was this one, the Super Cub. It's 110cc of throbbing power. It's good for sort of like 50-55 miles per hour generally speaking, but I have seen it do just over 60 down a hill, which isn't bad going at all. But the leading link front suspension, it doesn't feel too wonderful after 55. I've had it for 2 years now, and it's seen me proud so far. Never had really any problem at all, apart from the fuel tank float, which seemed to get a hole in it. I've replaced that with a wine bottle cork, and there's a little trim that goes on the downpipe for the silencer. That kind of rattled off. Well, one screw rattled out and I took the other one out until I could get a replacement screw. Based on that experience, I say it's cheap and cheerful. I mean, it's not the highest quality, but based on the reliable experience I had with it and the low cost, that prompted me to buy, just last week, I bought a Lexmoto ZSB125, which is also known as a Senka SK 125-8, another Chinese built bike. The build quality between the two, very, very different. The Super Cub's obviously very much the low end, cheapest possible kind of construction. The ZSB, on the other hand, is actually very well put together. I would go as far as to say it's certainly far higher grade of quality than any of the bikes I had in the early 80s when I was starting off riding motorcycles. Yeah, it's put together pretty well. The only complaints I've got about this one are the rear LED unit. Despite buying this with only 42 miles on the clock at a year old, one of the LEDs has already gone out. The engine is very sweet. Ticks over very nicely, but when you get up to speed, there's quite a racket coming from the top end here. I'm going to have to look at that. I'll just turn this off. Well, you can see the display. Got your miles per hour, your rev counter obviously, odometer, done 142 miles on it. You have a fuel gauge as well. It actually rides very nicely. It's very comfortable, the sitting position. But the one thing I'll say, it's got a very uncomfortable saddle after a few miles. I think after about 15 miles you start to get a bit of a numb bum. But it looks very comfortable. It's a nice wide saddle. It doesn't really look like a 125 saddle from my experience of bikes in the past. But it's just a bit harder than it needs to be, and I think that causes a numb bum. I actually quite like the styling of it. Obviously getting older, I prefer a more comfortable bike to ride. I've been used to riding a GSXR 750, which has been modified, slightly street fightered. I couldn't stand the shitting frog riding position. But these two bikes have just been bought for low speed rides around back roads. There's some really nice back roads around this part of the country. Just up by the tree line along here, there's a back road, just little B roads. That's the perfect, whoops, just been falling over a tree. That's the perfect kind of road for these low capacity bikes. Actually, there's not a great deal of difference in speed between the two of them. The ZSB is probably happiest around about 50-ish, 55. I have seen 68 on the clock so far, but it's not running. But it's very comfortable. The Super Cub, it's sort of like 45 to 50 it prefers, but you can scoot along at 55. So there's not a huge deal of difference in speed, but I think the advantage the Super Cub has is it's much lighter, so despite being only 110cc, it can propel itself along quite reasonably. But the ZSB does have a bit more grunt for getting up hills. That's about the only thing I've noticed so far, but I've only done 100 miles on the ZSB, and I've done something like 1,700 kilometers, which is just over 1,000 miles on the Super Cub. So overall, I think for small capacity, low speed fun, they're both perfectly adequate. Again, I'm sure you can get a much better bike if you want to spend a lot more money. But if you just want a cheap and cheerful two-wheel experience, these Lexmotos, they go for around about 900 something pounds. I'm not sure if that's plus on the road, but like 949 pounds brand new. And I think I just hear the sound of a Subaru Impreza WRX turning up. So I guess that's my friend Keith turned up. Anyway, I shall stop the video here, and that's it for now.